Welcome back to Jersey Motorsports Park. Jason, let's take a look at this place.
Yeah, this is going to be a fast lap around here. Fastest lap we have all year, Greg, in a matter of time. Down into turn 1, a lot of passing is going to be going on there. These superbikes going through turn 3, B, C, all the way through there. All right, there's a lot going on there under these motorcycles. Turn 4, turn 5, you're going to see some passing down in that area. Also turn 7 through 9 on the edge of the tire, all the way up through there, Greg. And then you're going to come onto this fast front straightaway as we're going to have a look here at the Cardo hot spots. And when you look at this track, it goes right back to what we talked about, turn 1. You got to get in here, Greg, as good as you can or as well as you can. Very, very bumpy, and one of the few places that you turn. This turn here, turn 3C, is off camber, and on these superbikes, they're constantly fighting for grip. Then we get down here into turn 5. This will be another place that you'll see some passing going on down into that turn 5 area. Turns 8 through 10 are important to me because you spend so much time on the edge of the tires. You flick it back from those big, long rights all the way to turn 10 here, this big, long, slow left that you got to get a good drive out of there because it leads you right here to turn 12. Fastest corner on the track leading onto the front straightaway, and we have seen some passing at that line after guys have drafted through to take a win.
All right, here's a quick look at the starting grid. No surprise, Jake Gagne on pole, Matthew Skoltz, Loris Baz on row number 1. On row 2, Elias Herron and Peterson. On to row number 3, Barbara Fong, Wyman, Ward, Alexander, and Lewis make up row 4. On back through the grid, Yates, Uribe, Heckles, Lewis, Wyman, and Gilbert. And on to row number 7, Flinders, Lee, Coffey, Ferris, Dunham, and Giannato. And making up the final spot is Jeffrey Perk. You can see bikes have done their warm-up lap, and we are ready to get this race underway. As a look at Tony Elias on the Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha, the third bike for Fresh and Lean Attack Performance this weekend. Here we go, revs are up. When that light goes off, we're going. Gagne with a good launch, but Matthew Skoltz going right along with him. Here we go, off into turn number 1. Nobody in the field wanted to see the 32 lead this one. Oh, Elias coming from nowhere. Skoltz trying to go around the outside.
Gagne set up really early, and it kind of threw everybody off. You can see Skoltz almost got in the back of him and then put himself to the inside, but Elias is the guy that's going to take advantage of this as he's going to jump that attack. Yamaha back up into second, chases weekend teammate again, Jake Gagne. A little bit looking through our onboard stuff here. They're going to go up over that wheelie hill, but this is what everybody didn't want to see. This guy Gagne getting out to a quick start.
Gagne pushing really hard, but Tony Elias also very aggressive. His second weekend back on the motorcycle is the 2017 Superbike champion. And he gets a ride on the attack Yamaha, supported by Fresh and Lean, with Josh Herron back in the mix as well. He's in that group right behind, but it's this guy, the class of the field this season, Jake Gagne, trying to set sail. 13 race wins in a row so far this season.
Yeah, and of course, you can see it's perfect outside, 79 degrees. You couldn't ask for a better day here in Jersey. And right now, Gagne is doing his disappearing act. And I just got to tell you, Greg, I've been watching Bobby Fong pretty tight this weekend, and it has looked like a bit of a struggle. And whatever this guy does with his team before the starts of these races, he just grinds it out. As you can see, a lot of dust in the background. But Bobby Fong in fourth, that's impressive. Tony gets real tight into turn 2. It's going to run him out a little bit. You can see Matthew Skoltz closes up on the back of him as they exit that corner. Matthew Skoltz has looked really strong in this little area of the racetrack all weekend long to me. Talking to him this morning, they've been running through some different gearing changes. Tried some different stuff that they heard might work a little better for them. It didn't work very well for Matthew. So in qualifying this morning, they went back to what they had in session number 1 yesterday. But right now, he's trying to do everything he can to get past Tony Elias, and he's not quite able to do it. And he sees Gagne just disappearing into the future there.
Looking at the 24, Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha, Tony Elias, Westby Racing's Matthew Skoltz on the 11, M4 X-Star Suzuki's Bobby Fong, who, Jason, like you're saying, I mean, he just hasn't really been any consistent lap times all weekend long. Who has is Cam Peterson, who's in 7th behind Loris Baz, who's fallen behind Josh Herron, the number 2, who's back in action.
Yeah, and when you look at Baz this weekend, some of the stuff that I've seen from them, it just doesn't look like the Ducati wants to soak up the bumps as well as some of the other motorcycles, because he has been trying extremely hard. And you can see Fong gets a little bit of a run on Skoltz. But I think over time, Baz will be able to get himself up to these guys. But it's hard to be patient when you see this group going off, and you can see Baz back there behind Camp Peterson, who I've also spoke with and said they'd gone back to a bike that he had some success on earlier in the year, Greg. If you remember, he had a tip-off on the Thursday practice at Brainerd. And I think he's been riding another bike since then. They've been able to get this one back together. It's got a few different components on it that he seemed to really feel made a difference for him going into this weekend here in Jersey. And we've seen some speed out of Camp Peterson, but now we just got to see him get closed back up onto this group here battling for the podium.
With 18 laps to go, let's now welcome in another member of our broadcast team, Hannah Lopa. Hey, Hannah.
While this Superbike Championship is winding down, let's switch gears and talk about our Superbike Cup for a moment. For those of you who don't follow, it's an opportunity for our Stock 1000 competitors to compete in their own championship within the Hono Superbike class. Right now, our points leader for that cup is Jake Lewis, who wrapped up the Stock 1000 Championship earlier today. When I spoke to Jake, he said it's a relief, and now he can focus all of his energy toward winning this Superbike Cup. Extra bonus here, so best of luck to him. Keep an eye on that 85 today.
Yeah, Jake Lewis, 35 points ahead of Travis Wyman, and another 21 ahead of Corey Alexander in that Superbike Cup Championship. And Lewis, who basically came off the couch, didn't expect to be in this position, the number 85. A great reward for his Altus Motorsports team on the year after they lost Cam Peterson as he graduated to the M4X Star Suzuki team. And they were wondering where their championship was going to be renewed or not, and it was. But how about this guy, Jake Gagne? A champion in his own right in Motoamerica, Stock 1000 Championship a number of years ago, trying to hunt down his first Hono Superbike title.
But how about these guys behind? They've only let him get a second in front, Greg. 21.5 that last time by from your leader, number 32, Jake Gagne. Tony Elias, though, 21.2, 21.3 for Skoltz, 21.3 for Bobby Fong, and 21.3 for Josh Herron. They all actually closed up just a little bit on Jake Gagne, so that he's not just completely disappearing right now. And that's going to be super encouraging for Tony Elias right now, seeing that Gagne hasn't completely gone down the road. And the two Yamahas behind Gagne have broke away just a little from Fong, haven't they?
They certainly have. Now, another member of our broadcast team, hard at work, Jamie Howe on Josh Herron. What's up, Jamie?
Well, you mentioned Josh Herron is back. He missed the last 2 rounds, the last 4 races due to a COVID-positive illness. But he and his wife Rachel this week just welcomed their first son, Griffin. He's now 4 days old. He's back at home with Rachel. The two are doing well. They're both recovering. Josh Herron, though, while he was gone, he lost 10 pounds, most of that being in his strength. He lost his muscle mass, so he's sore today from practice and qualifying. He's getting his head back into the racing game. It's a 3-bike program. You mentioned Tony Elias joining them this weekend, but he said, my goal doesn't change. No matter what kind of shape I'm in, I'm still here for the same reason, and that's to win.
Well, congratulations to the Herron clan, and welcome Griffin to the world and to Motoamerica Superbike Racing. Watching your dad get after it, one of the most talented motorcycle racers the United States has ever produced. Fresh and lean attack performance Yamaha's Josh Herron getting after it after a COVID-positive result that kind of beat him up a little bit as well. It's been an up and down last couple of weeks, months, I guess, for Herron, but all capped off with the birth of Griffin. So Herron right now in 5th spot, just 0.8 of a second behind Bobby Fong, but 2.5 back from Jake Gagne as Gagne continues to set the pace over Tony Elias, Matthew Skoltz in 6th place, Peterson, Baz in 7th now. Hector Barber in 8th, Corey Alexander in 9th, and Bradley Ward rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, when you look at it right now, Gagne's bike is moving around quite a bit, and some of these other guys' bikes look a little bit better, but Gagne's answered the call in this lap. He did pull away just by 1/10 the last lap through, and Bobby Fong now is trying to get back on the back of Matthew Skoltz as they come here onto this front straightaway. Look at that time up at the front, Greg, a 20.9 by the leader, 21.3 for everyone else. Well, for Tony Elias behind him. The other guys are in the mid-21s. So Jake Gagne dips down into the 20s again. He had got a best time of 20.7, and he goes 20.9 that time. So that's probably why we're seeing his bike moving around a little bit more as you get the on-camera look from Matthew Skoltz back, looking back at Bobby Fong as they go through that turn 3B, 3C area, up over a little wheelie bump. This kink here, Greg, is very fast on a superbike, and then they got to be hard on the grinders for turn 5.
Superbikes going full sail. So again, Jason, it's just been an interesting year with Yamaha leading the way in the Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha crew, and the 3 riders they've had during the course, 4 riders they've had during the course of the season. Of course, J.D. Beach filling in.
That's right.
Earlier on in the season at Brainerd International Raceway, and of course, Matthew Skoltz in the incredible season he has put on, his best in Honos Superbike of his young career. But how about this guy, Tony Elias, on the couch without a ride, got a phone call from Kyle Wyman that said, hey, can you fill in for me on my Panera-bred Ducati? And that all of a sudden put Elias on the radar once again. And it looks like Hector Barbera.
Oh, this guy's been riding amazing too this weekend. He's done a great job. So I'm wondering if that's just simple as running off the racetrack. It looks like it. Bike doesn't look any worse for the wear there, but Hector Barbera has been riding really nice. As you can see, Cam Peterson has now made his way through on Herrin. Baz right up the back of both of these guys. So Cam Peterson just got through it. Looked like on the exit of turn 1 there.
I know Herrin had been doing everything he could to get back from COVID. I know when I talked to him before Griffin was born, he was on the bicycle and at the gym again, trying to get back those lungs, that fitness. But like we heard, Herrin, I would imagine, Jason, that the birth of your child is going to be a big distraction at home before you come to the final 2 races of the season.
Yeah, well, he's been through a lot in the last month. I mean, obviously, it was when we were on our way to Brainerd, we had heard that Josh maybe had come down sick, and we weren't sure. And then, of course, the positive test came back, so he misses Pittsburgh. More than anything, he's not in riding shape probably. As Matthew Skoltz now. Looked like Tony went a little bit wide there up in that turn 9 area, and he's going to allow Skoltz to get through. So 1.6 seconds is the lead at the front. Let's see if Matthew can start to chip away at that at all.
So Tony Elias leaves the door open. Skoltz with a nice aggressive move. Head down, the South African takes over second spot. The gap 2.6 seconds to Jake Gagne. Gagne last time by, though, Jason, a 21.3 to Skoltz 22.0. But he also did that time, did Skoltz, trying to get around Elias. So the new running order is Gagne, Skoltz, Elias, Fong, Peterson. Herrin still holding off the advances of Loris Baz. The Frenchman, been talking with him about the possibility of next season. Baz telling me he would definitely like to get another crack at staying here in the United States.
Yeah, if you come here and you watch one of these races and you get here on a Friday, he puts in a lot of laps, Greg. And, this morning I know he did a great job to get himself in the position he did. But it, just like I said, when you watch this bike from trackside, it just doesn't seem to want to go over the bumps quite as easy as Loris would like it. There's a lot of moving around, especially in like the 3A, B, C area that I was talking about earlier in the hot spots. It's a very critical section to get right. And I was watching over there the other day, and it just looked like it was a bit of a struggle for Loris. And we all know how talented he is, and he's going to do everything he can to try to pick off these 2 guys in front of him.
M4 Star Suzuki's Cameron Peterson, a standout this season without question. He's had Superbike experience in the past, but the maturation that Peterson has had over the last couple seasons really showing in the way he's been able to finish races this season. As Peterson sends it sideways, then you have that Yamaha. So 3 brands going at it, Suzuki, Yamaha, and Ducati in the battle for 5th spot. And Jay, looking at these results right now and looking at practice times, just up ahead of this battle is Bobby Fong on the M4 Star Suzuki number 50 in 4th place, but very impressive considering what we've seen out of him so far this weekend.
Yeah, when I watched Bobby yesterday, he didn't look happy, and I talked to his riding coach, Josh Hayes, quite a bit yesterday. We got to hang out, and he was telling me some of the things that they're working on and the stuff that hopefully could get Bobby a little bit closer. But yesterday it just didn't look like, again, it looked like there were some things with the bike that they needed to get sorted out. But Bobby's a racer, and on Sundays and Saturdays when he's getting ready to ride these Superbike races, he's always right at the front. And then the last lap, Greg, he went 21.7 to edge closer. He was a half second quicker than the guys in front of him. Hannah, what do you have?
Talking to Bobby Fong, some front issues and struggling a lot with the front. It was wanting to tuck, so they made some wholesale changes each session, and he expects it to be much better for this race based on the progress that he made this morning. Overall, he's been on the podium the last 2 rounds, so he just wants to focus on podiums these last few races, and he's in the hunt for one right now. Let's get over to Jamie Howe with more.
Well, Hector Barbera, we saw him go off track. He just made an unscheduled stop on pit lane, and the issue is that he just had no confidence in the grip that he was getting out of the rear of that motorcycle. So they did go up 1 pound of pressure on that rear Dunlop. He went back out, but he stood here on pit lane and just let himself cool off and talk to Steve Scheibe, decompress for a couple of moments before he went back out to turn some more laps.
This is a guy with a lot of experience, Jamie, so when he feels something that doesn't feel quite right to him, he's going to definitely take it easy. We got our eye on him right now to see if we can see anything on the number 80. He's been extremely fast all weekend long. At one point this morning in qualifying, he was up to third. And, the thing for Barbera is if he feels something, Greg, that I think he's going to be able to look back on his experiences and think, okay, something doesn't feel right. He's definitely going to come into his crew and have them check it over.
Yeah, and also critical to get him in, make that change really quickly, and get him back out so you can get as much data. Jason, this race has implications to the grid positions for tomorrow. So whatever finishing order you have today is what's going to set the grid position for our 11 a.m. Eastern race number 2 in Hono Superbike of our 3 races in one weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend for all of these guys, but you're exactly right. The thing is that Hector Barbera needs to do these laps, because if there are changes that they need to make to the bike, they'll be able to go tonight and look the race distance or the amount of laps he's put on these tires to see if there's things they can change. As you see Matthew Skoltz do a nice job of sliding that bike right into that curbing. That curbing kind of gets used as a berm by a lot of our Superbike and competitors here at Motoamerica. You come up over the top of that hill, and it runs away from you a little bit there. So that curbing can actually help you a little bit in straightening the bike back up.
Just a heads up, folks, there is a college football game that is running longer on another Fox network, and the conclusion of this race may be moved to the Fox Sports app prior to the checkered flag. So just a heads up right now that it might be moved to the Fox Sports app. So we'll let you know as we get further into this race. But right now...
Oh, Tony just had a big one coming up.
Yeah, he certainly
there,
did.
See the bike get a little bit sideways on him as he was headed up that hill. Turn 7 there that leads into all those big, long right-handers up the hill is so key. The earlier you can release that lever and let the bike roll through there, the less throttle you have to give it. Tony's bike just went a little bit sideways on him there, and you could see that gap just opened up. He was actually closing in on Matthew, but that gap just opened up, and then it allowed Bobby to kind of climb back up on the back of him here.
The battle for third place between 24 Tony Elias and number 50 Bobby Fong is starting to heat up. Now, Jason, as Tony's bike starts to move around, that's exactly what Fong wants to see. The question is, can Fong get close enough to take advantage of any miscues that Tony might have?
Well, yeah, he's going to be able to hopefully get close enough, but I think the big thing is you're going to look back here on the screen, you're going to see Tony's bike get sideways as he rolled up this hill, and the good news is it's actually kind of climbing back uphill, so it's not like it's going to be going away from him too much there. So he's able to control that. Obviously, the electronics on these bikes are amazing, and they can help that as well. But yeah, Bobby's, we always talk about him. He's such a grinder in the midsections of these races, and he just kind of keeps himself in the picture all the time. And there's nothing that number 50 would like more than to get this bike up on the podium. And then, like you say, Greg, that's also will be a front row start for the top 3 tomorrow. So if Bobby can somehow get his way through on Tony Elias, then that would be a front road start.
Matthew Skoltz on the Westby Racing Yamaha with a treat. His parents here in attendance. The first time they've been able to see him race in a couple of seasons. So Skoltz in a very good place. And, when talking to that team after practice session number 1 yesterday, there were smiles all around. The confidence level, this team, and the changes that they've made during the offseason to dial this bike in.
Hector Barbera, sorry, Greg. Hector Barbera on the front straightaway there, moving over for these leaders coming through as Loris Baz. I saw him go up underneath Cam Peterson the lap before, and this time he gets up underneath Josh Herron. So this is kind of what I thought might happen. I know Baz is struggling, but he's going to be able to put these laps in. I've seen him do a number of laps, Greg. He goes out and does more laps than anybody, and so I know he knows he's going to be familiar with what's underneath him. But he gets through and gets a couple positions, and you saw Hector Barbera there just get out of the way of these guys, Hannah.
In talking to Baz, he said he doesn't feel like his Ducati really suits the bumpy surface of this track, but earlier he enjoyed some laps on the Q tire. That really soft compound saved a lot of the problems that he was having. But on race tires, it's obviously a different story. He said they're trying a change for this race to improve overall grip, but ultimately he doesn't feel he has pace to fight for the win. But he does want to use this first race as a learning opportunity in order to improve upon this result for both of tomorrow's races.
Yeah, being the only rider on the Warhorse HSBK Racing Ducati New York Panigale, he's the only one that can provide information to that team and make this bike better, Jason. And so these laps are critical for them to continue to develop and move forward.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, when you look at Loris, even if you look at his Instagram feeds and stuff, he's loving being over here. I think the only thing missing for Loris is the results that he would like, but it's not through lack of trying. I know that team is trying to give him the best package they can, and he's riding it the best that he can. So, you know, like Hannah said, these laps, and like you said about Barbara also, the laps are so important to get because they'll be able to look at things over race distance. But it just always has seemed like there's just a little something missing that they just can't kind of find right now. So hopefully they can find something for him that'll help him in 2 races tomorrow.
Corey Alexander on his tribute bike, 4911, getting around this racetrack in 9th place currently in a battle with Bradley Ward and Jake Lewis. So the number 23 on the Honos Hudson Valley Motorcycle Racing Kawasaki ZX-10RR.
Yeah, and let's say something about Bradley Ward, too. This time last year, Bradley Ward was getting helicoptered out of this place, if you remember, Greg. This young man, number 57, from England, obviously had a big background in motocross and supercross, and he's gone full circle now, coming back to New Jersey after basically a year off. He rode at Brainerd with us for the first time, and his pace coming back from the injuries that he sustained, and I'm talking about the number 57 there of Bradley Ward, the injuries he sustained would have put a lot of people off, but he's come back, he's trained, he's got himself fit again. You can see him there on one of Aussie Dave Racing's GSX-R 1000, and he's starting to pull away from our Superbike competitors, but it's really nice to see Bradley back up and looking at fighting well inside the top 10 right now.
For Bradley Ward on that Fly Racing ADR Motorsports Suzuki, the presence of him and Jason Uribe on those motorcycles have allowed David Anthony to go off into the sunset and retirement, the owner of that Fly Racing team. And in talking with the owner of that team, he says that next year he wants to come back in Superbike and put a really serious team together. So a lot of future for Fly Racing ADR Motorsports here in Motoamerica as we continue to dice it up. These two are involved in, of course, what we heard about earlier, that Superbike Cup Championship. Points on the line between Jake Lewis and Corey Alexander, as Alexander is 56 points behind Lewis in the Superbike Cup Championship. The two regulars battle it out in Stock 1000, a race which you can see on the Motoamerica Live Plus app and occasionally popping up on Motoamerica's Facebook page. So it looks like Lewis starting to get after the 57 of Ward.
Yeah, Jake now is just riding so free after being able to wrap up the championship in that Stock 1000 category earlier today, and he's just got to feel so good out there right now, just being able to just go lay down laps and not have to really worry about too much. As you can see, Gagne now is going to start to get into some of the tail enders here in the field. Gagne, that last time by, runs 21.7, 21.8 for Matthew Skoltz, but it's 6.1 seconds now that this guy has up the road. And, you know, Greg, when we've talked about Gagne this year, we've talked about him an awful lot. I knew that he'd improved quite a bit when we were at the COTA test. I just didn't realize he was going to go on this big of a run as he has. And we know he's done this before in other classes.
Yeah, he certainly has. And when he has everything dialed in, and it's not just the motorcycle, it's what goes on around him as well. We've talked about Gagne and the life changes that he's made this year, moving from San Diego to Durango, Colorado. His family in tow as well. Girlfriend, dog that he loves so much. And he's got everything flowing with the team and the new crew chief this year. And Jake Gagne is trying to make it 14 race wins in a row, Jamie. Unprecedented.
And you know what I love about that whole program is that even though he's led every session this week, and they never quit, they never stop improving. They've been playing with the forks. They get it easier for him to transition over the bumps. It is a very bumpy circuit here. He wasn't happy after that first practice, the first qualifying session, with how hard he was able to push. So they dug deep. They kept going. They made some electronic improvements. But this is a team that is not only fighting for a championship, but they still want to improve this program, and they want to have something that they can work with for the rest of this season and into next year also.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because as they look forward to next season, it's all about who our competition are going to catch us. If they catch us, we need to continue our improvement. Tony Elias starting to get a little sideways, Jason, really hard on the brakes. But, you know, Tony likes a motorcycle a little bit longer, a little bit flatter, and it plays into his riding style. When he's sliding the motorcycle like that, it's where Tony Elias is very comfortable.
Yeah, well, it's a way for him to help get the bikes turning initially, so that's what he uses it for. And pretty much any bike he's ridden, he tries to look for a certain setup that he knows works for him. So you can see Matthew Skultz here gets through on one of the back markers as well. And Tony and Bobby Fong are just behind him. That last lap through, they were about, what were they, Greg? About 1.2 seconds behind Matthew Skultz that last time through.
Here's a look at our Geico saves. Jason, looking at Loris Baz on the 76.
Running off the edge of the track there is a bit sketch, but you can see there's no green paint there, Greg. It's grass. So, you know, the main thing there is he got the bike upright, and it looked like Heron was going up underneath him. So,
yeah, no green paint.
No green paint.
Hey, and props to Josh Heron for getting out of that situation as well.
Yeah.
He made the move up the inside. But Tony Elias holding on to third place. Bobby Fong is hot on his heels at the moment as Gagne is about 8.4 seconds ahead of this battle for the final spot on the podium. So it's Gagne, Skultz, who's about 2 seconds up the road from the 24. But Elias able to get on the third bike on this Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha. A lot of people talked about it on social media after it was announced. Would it be possible to fill the podium with Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamahas? At the moment, with Josh Heron in 6th place, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Plus, the idea that Matthew Skultz would give up any ground to the likes of Elias or Heron seems unheard of at this stage of the season and with how well Skultz is riding. But now the focus is this final spot on the podium. How bad does Bobby Fong want to get on the box again?
Well, you know, he wants it bad, but it's going to be one of those things of where's he going to do it. I haven't really seen a place where I feel that Bobby can actually do something with Tony yet. I mean, even through here, he gets pretty decent runs through here. You can see how close he is to the back of Tony Elias. Now, right here, normally you're going to be able to see him maybe get in the draft and try to do something down into turn one. Tony gets that bike upright and pulls the trigger, and Bobby just cannot get close enough to do anything down into this turn one area. And that's a section also that we know Tony's going to be extremely good at. He's going to get the bike tipped in there early. He's going to be backing the thing in, getting it down to the apex. So it makes it really difficult to try to go by him there. So it's going to have to be a surprise attack somewhere for Bobby Fong, I think, to get the job done on that 24 bike of Tony Elias.
So far this season, Bobby Fong, Jason, after coming off of a 3-race win season last year with 3 podium finishes, 2 second place and a third, this would mean so much to his team as Bobby Fong coming off of last time we raced had a podium. But Fong, like you're saying, Jason, it just doesn't look like he's got. I mean,
can you see a spot?
Power?
Yeah,
no,
can you see a spot like that looks like he's going to be able to do it? I mean, it just looks like it's going to be a hard pass. This guy, he's not really worried about anybody else. You can see a 20.7 there on lap number 2. Then he jumped back into the 20s on lap number 5 when he saw that his board was only saying +1, and then just drops the hammer after that into the mid 21s all the way through.
Yeah, that lap progression is something we've seen from Gagne. The lap record around here was set last year by Cameron Beaubier at a 1:20.3 in race number 1. And so Gagne just really needed to just put down that 1:20.7 and not push the issue any further. Not chasing after track records. Jake Gagne is just chasing after race wins.
And he's set a lot of track records this year, though. Like you have pointed out over and over, he has definitely done that. And but yeah, this one right now, 20.1 last year for Beaubier. And, you know, if this guy can somehow wrap up the championship in race 2 tomorrow possibly, then you might see him hanging out a little bit more in that race number 3. But even though he doesn't talk about it, he knows the big job at hand is close, and that is trying to slap that number 1 plate on the front of that motorcycle.
I think the biggest improvement that's noticeable to our eyes, Jason, is just how smooth Jake Gagne has gotten with that off throttle onto the brakes transition.
That transition has become huge for him. And, you know, again, talking earlier in the year, learned a lot looking at what Cam does. And You know, you got a guy like Richard Stamboli in your corner as well. That helps a ton, and he's going to be able to break down each idiosyncrasy of what Cam did and hopefully get that to where it's going to be applicable to what Jake has done, and he's been able to do that really well.
You're witnessing a rider who is on a 14-race win streak. If he can come out of this final corner and clean to the checkered flag, comes Jake Gagne, Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha, 14th win in a row.
And here comes Matthew Skoltz. He's going to end up second, and it looks like Tony Elias is indeed going to hold off the advances of Bobby Fong there. Bobby, tremendous effort for the 50, but Tony Elias gets back on the podium, and here's that battle, Greg, coming all the way down to the wire. Loris Baz is going to get fifth over Josh Herron. Those guys were fighting all the way to the end. Cam Peterson, you can see just in the background there, he's going to end up seventh.
So Bobby Fong missed the podium by just over a tenth of a second. A good ride by Tony Elias to put himself back on the podium. So Yamaha sweeps the podium again, this time bookended by Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha. All right, so Jake Gagne, Matthew Skoltz, Tony Elias, Bobby Fong, Loris Baz, Josh Herron, Cam Peterson, Kyle Wyman in 8th place with Jake Lewis, Bradley Ward, and Corey Alexander losing. So Lewis got Bradley Ward in that mix. Jason Uribe back from World Superbike in 12th. Ashton Yates in 13th. Michael Gilbert and Travis Wyman. So, Jay, how about this guy?
Yeah, there's no, I mean, we've used up all the words that we can on him. He's just done such a tremendous job. Another win in the books.
And now we send you out to University Park, Pennsylvania for the Ball State-Penn State game. Get on the app to see post-race coverage. It's Fox Sports app. Get on it now. Welcome back to New Jersey Motorsports Park as Jake Gagne and Matthew Skoltz have a conversation of how their race went. 7.6 seconds, the margin of victory from Gagne to Skoltz, as you can see clearly right here. And then we have those couple great battles, Jason, Elias and Fong, and Baz and Herron.
Yeah, absolutely. The Baz Herron was good to watch the last few laps. I could see them out the window, back and forth with each other. And Cam Peterson, be interesting to see what went on with him today to fall back a little bit. Surprises me. Kyle Wyman, the same. Kyle had to come through all those guys that we saw battling, the Jake Lewis's, Bradley Ward, Corey Alexander. So we'll figure out what happened with those guys. Hope they can do better tomorrow.
All right, let's head right down to Hannah, who has our winner.
Another stellar performance from Jake Gagne, a 7.5, roughly second margin of victory. With so many wins in a row, and as this championship winds down, what are the emotions right now heading into tomorrow, knowing that this could be the day you get your first ever Hono Superbike Championship?
Yeah, it's just another day, really. You know, I think that's been our focus, race by race, and you know we have this Fresh and Lean Attack Yamaha is a bike that wants to win every race, so that's all we got to focus on. If we manage to get a few more of those, I think they'll call us champion pretty soon. But again, I'm not thinking about it. Thanks again to this team. They're working so hard. We've made some steady improvements. We were really confident going into the race, but these guys kept me honest, especially in the beginning. I got a good first lap, then they started creeping back up on me, and I had to go. I had to keep going. So we'll see if we can fine-tune a couple little things tomorrow, and doubleheader tomorrow, so it'll be fun. We got two 20-lap races. It'll be a lot, but I'm stoked. I'm ready for it. I know the team is, and let's go.
Well, congratulations to Jake Gagne. Let's get over to Jamie Howe with our second-place finisher.
It is the 6th consecutive podium for Matthew Skoltz. And when we spoke earlier today, tire wear at the end of the race, that was a big thing that you guys were working on. You consistently turned those laps, but it was still a 7-second gap. What can you do for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought when I got past Tony that it would maybe be on the same pace as what Jake did, but he was busting out some real quick laps. I mean, I stayed in the 21s, like the high 21s for quite a bit, which I was happy with. But obviously, if we want to win, we got to do something and catch up to Jake. He's riding so well. I mean, all season long. I think this was his 14th straight win, which is just crazy, you know. And right now, it feels like all I'm getting is second places, but I'm still happy, you know. The Westby guys have been working extremely hard, and I feel like we're kind of catching up to Jake slowly. And no, well done to Tony. It's really awesome to see him back up on the podium and to have a Yamaha sweep. I couldn't be happier. And yeah, just going to go back to the briefing room now and try to change a couple of things and pick up the pace so we can hopefully challenge Jake tomorrow.
Congratulations on the second place finish. That's Matthew Skoltz. Let's go back to Hannah.
Rounding out our podium here for our Hono Superbike class is once again Tony Elias, who makes his second appearance on the podium for the Attack Performance Yamaha team. Tony, take me through those last 3 laps in your battle with Bobby Fong. How were you able to keep him behind you?
I think this track is a little bit more difficult for my style. It's been always one of the tough ones. We worked so hard during the weekend, improving since yesterday, but very small steps. That the team put me in the condition to be closer to Jake today, but still is not enough. We don't have time enough to work more. No, so at the beginning of the race, I felt better, more close to the end. I was struggling more, losing more the rear, and I couldn't follow Matthew, so I tried to stay there. And at the end, with Bobby, I just closed the gaps, and he couldn't pass me. So good, third position is perfect for today.
Congratulations to Tony Elias and a Yamaha podium sweep for our Hono Superbike class.
Heart of a champion, not satisfied with third. They're going to go back to work. We're going to have more from NJMP on the other side of this break.